1, 2. All right, you can hear me.
Alex, welcome to St. Louis. On paper, I think this fight with Sean Woodson has banger written all over it potentially. Do you feel it the same way, that this could be fight of the night?
Well, if I'm involved in any fight, I feel like it has the potential to be fight of the night. I tend to try and make the show. And I would have to say, without taking anything away from anybody, it's going to be all about me when it comes out there, Nice.
I mean, you're fighting the hometown guy. You're going to have to play the heel a little bit on Saturday night, I think. But is that also part of the show that you can put on for people? As in
they're not going to want me to win in their hometown in that sense. It doesn't matter to me. A lot of people don't want me to win anyway, in general. So I just don't really pay attention to too much of that stuff. At the end of the day, it's just two men in a cage.
He was in here earlier, and he was saying that he thinks this is going to be funky style versus funky style, and we're going to see a battle of movement early on as we're working each other out. Do you look at him and sort of think, yeah, I can sort of see how that'll play out?
Definitely, I would have to agree to a certain degree. Yeah, we're both very rangy. We like to fight on the outside, so it's going to be a battle of wits when it comes into trying closing the distance and making something happen.
You mentioned just then that when you're involved, the show's on, right? Is that a position you take pride in, right? That knowing that fans can see your name on the fight card and know, like, hey, if I watch this guy fight, I'm going to be entertained. I'm going to leave happy.
Well, it's not a position of pride that I take. It's more just, it's factual. Like, I just know the way that I do things. I love what I do. And when I do it, I try to do it without anything holding me back. I do it with no fear. As much as no fear as possible, or I don't let the fear affect me as I'm doing it. So therefore, I'm able to perform as open-heartedly as possible. And I know that that's what really people really desire, even though they don't know it. A lot of people, fans, I should say, want to think, I want to see knockouts. I want to see just brutality, but it's not true. You want to see style and grace.
Would you consider it a bit of like artistry, right? You're a bit of an artist when you get in there, do you feel like?
Well, I believe we are all artists, and no matter what we do. And when we embrace that artistic side of us, then we can actually perform at whatever thing that we're doing at a highest level possible, because it's done with love and it's not done for any other thing.
I know that sometimes you don't really love talking about fighting, so I wanted to ask you a couple of questions outside of this. You recently went to London.
Yes.
How did you find it?
It was beautiful. I liked it. A lot of cool old historical buildings and stuff. I love to see the castles. It was generally a fun trip. We got to see the Harry Potter studios. Yeah. That was fun. So I definitely want to go back there again. I didn't feel like I spent enough time in London because we only went there for Polaris, so we had about maybe 2 days free. But other than that, I want to see, Ireland. I want to see the rest of England. I want to see Spain, Portugal. I haven't made my Europe trip yet. I still have in my mind.
Do you feel like you'd love to try and fight in those places, become like a fighter of the world and get to fight abroad, maybe even in Manchester or something like that?
Oh, definitely. That would be great to have some more international fights in other places. So far, I've been to Japan twice, been to China twice, and I've been to Singapore twice. So I fought in the Orient a lot, but it would be definitely cool to fight, in England.
Thank you.
I just got one for you, brother. Do you ever go back and watch some of the old pre-UFC backyard fight videos? Do you ever go back and watch those?
Like mine or?
Yeah, like yours. Yeah, because I'm looking at one and it's got 450,000 views from back in the day. Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres versus Chocolate. It's wild to me.
I don't go actually and watch them myself. I don't watch any of my old fights, honestly. When they pop up on a feed, I'll look at them like, oh, that's a cool memory. But I don't know. I don't know why, but I don't like to look at my own work too much.
What was that like? Fighting in a backyard atmosphere with people sitting on lawn chairs and makeshift ropes and things like that.
Well, that's just Miami, man. Before I was doing that, I used to have I was fresh out of high school, so I think I was 18, moving on to. I just turned 18, so I was trying to go professional in mixed martial arts because I have already been training since I was 16. But even while I was training at 16 in high school, we used to have underground fights. Some people would from other gyms or other fighters would be like, hey, man, I think I can beat you up. So we'll just make bets on ourselves, go to a private area, and it'll just be me and him and the money collectors. And then we'll just fight each other. So this was thing that was going on all the time. And that's when I actually did the backyard fights, I got introduced to that by Levo Martinez, who used to do a lot of the backyard fights with Kimbo and Georgie Masvidal. They invited me out there to represent them, because in those days, those fights were kind of like not bragging right fights, but like having control over what area in the section of wherever you lived in. So they wanted me to represent them because we used to spar a lot, and they're like, oh man, you do really good out here. So yeah, it's just a Miami thing, you know. It's a
right over here. So Sean said that he didn't have anybody like you in his camp, and he definitely knows that you didn't have anybody like him in your camp. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I know that no one's going to have anybody like me in their camp. That's for sure. I feel like we did a very good job in simulating Sean Woodson in our camp. We did have people probably like an inch shy of his height. Definitely not the reach, but we tried to emulate and simulate the way he fights. We watched video, and we had people do that, you know, for me. So I feel like we got pretty prepared correctly for this fight. It's half true.
Okay. So you're fighting a local guy. It's not ideal to leave it up to the judges. How do you see this fight ending?
There's various outcomes, you know. I see it ending in any which way possible, whether it be negative or positive for me, but I try not to latch on to any outcome, whether it be positive or negative. I like to go into the fight moment by moment and see how it plays out. I feel that when we do that, when we latch on to a specific outcome, we tend to miss it.
Right here. So MMA is a sport that requires a lot of discipline. Obviously, it requires a ton of dedication. And a lot of fighters, you know, they dedicate their entire lives to it. They spend almost every waking minute thinking about it and training and all that stuff. What are some things that you like to do outside of fighting that kind of help you take your mind off of it?
Like hiking. I like gardening a lot. Playing music, playing video games, cooking. I like to do just life in general. You know, to me, it doesn't consume my life, to be honest with you. When I'm training, I'm focused. Nothing gets in the way. When I have fight coming up, of course, I'm very disciplined about it. But the minute the training's done, I go back to living. You know, I don't want to separate myself from life, you know, saying like this is going to be more important, or I don't want to become a machine, you know. I still want to be human.
Absolutely. Thank you.